There are so many things about this twin flame path, this twin flame experience that truly can't be understood outside of this connection. So many things that would be difficult, if not nearly impossible, to verbalize yourself or explain to others. But through this video, I am going to try to put words to one of those very unique twin flame experiences. This is either remote touching with your twin flame, being able to feel them touching you when they aren't in the room or even when they're miles away. And the other aspect of the twin flame connection that I want to discuss in tandem with remote touching is remote viewing. Being able to see flashes, or if not through sight, to be able to experience through one of the other senses what your twin flame is experiencing in that simultaneous moment. But first, let me introduce myself. To anyone who's new here, my name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and, of course, the law of attraction. If you are new here, welcome. In this community, love is catching like wildfire. There are now so many of you beautiful souls out there listening, and I just want to pause to say thank you so much to each and every one of you who support me and my work here on this channel, either by listening to these podcasts, by participating in the comments, or by joining me on my members-only subliminal site, Sound and Soulful. I can see and hear and just sense the energetic presence of each and every one of you. So let's talk about remote sensations you can have in connection with your twin flame. Like I said, I'll be breaking this video into essentially two parts: remote touching and remote viewing. This is because they go together in some ways, but they are different in other ways. And here's what I mean by that. Let's just start with the basis for how we as twin flames are able to experience either remote touching or remote viewing with our twin flame. To understand why, how this seemingly crazy, impossible experience is so possible and in fact very common within a twin flame connection, we must go back to reminding ourselves of the nature of the twin flame connection. Remember, you and your twin flame are energetically bonded at your core. The image I often bring up is that illustration of there being some kind of string, an unbreakable string. Imagine a string made of the strongest material on the planet, running from your heart to the heart of your twin flame. I've talked in the past about many side effects, so to speak, of having this unbreakable string, this ever-present attachment to your twin flame. But one thing we haven't discussed very much that really deserves its own space is that one effect of this connection is that we are able to transmit and receive sensory input from our twin flame. This is different from what I often talk about on my channel. I often talk about how twin flames are naturally very telepathic. They can easily transmit their thoughts, feelings, emotions to one another, even accidentally. And in fact, they are constantly exchanging this emotional energy. However, they are also able to transmit energy in the form of sense impressions, sense of sight, sense of smell, sense of taste, sense of touch. The reason this video is broken into 2 parts is because there are 2 ways that this sense transmission occurs between twin flames. One is when you experience simultaneously the senses that your twin flame is experiencing at the same time. This is usually a very unconscious sense impression transmission. Usually you don't intend to transmit this information. It simply happens naturally, just like through twin flame telepathy, we can and do transmit thoughts and feelings to our twin flame all day long. We are also actually always transmitting to them the senses we are experiencing in the physical world. Remember, I said in one of my other videos that when twin flames meet, they have this energetic exchange between them, in which, just like a computer, they download every single one of their twin flames' memories, experiences, and connections in this life. Essentially, this is their way of catching each other up to speed. What I didn't say in that video is that this isn't purely intellectual. This isn't the equivalent of someone telling or explaining to you their life story. This first meeting download between twin flames runs much deeper than the intellectual level. You don't just know what they've gone through intuitively and even sometimes consciously. You actually feel it in your physical body, in your emotional body, in your energy body. It is quite literally as if you actually experienced everything they experienced up until that point. How does this tie in with what we're talking about in this video? Well, the whole reason that these sense impression exchanges happen is because that exchange of information doesn't stop after that first meeting. You continue to perpetually download any new sensory experiences, not in some two-dimensional intellectual way, but just as real as that first meeting download. It will be as if in any moment, if you tune into it or if you receive it unconsciously by accident, you can actually find yourself sensing with your physical senses what your twin flame is experiencing in that moment. So this is the first form of the remote connection between twin flames. One way this often plays out is through what people refer to as remote viewing. Now, remote viewing sounds like a fancy term, but essentially it is when we see something that is actually happening somewhere else. And this can occur either during a meditation. It can actually be consciously induced. You can train your own mind, your own consciousness to exit your body and remote view. But for twin flames, there's a nuance on this. It's a bit different. This is different from traditional remote viewing, where Experts at astral projection can train their consciousness to exit their body during meditation, look at something in the physical world in a different location, and then bring back that information, those pictures, to their body, to their conscious mind. Twin flame remote viewing is a bit different than that, and here's why. For twin flames, A, you don't have to master the art of astral projection in order to do this. And B, you aren't just sending your consciousness out and viewing what they're doing. You are actually, because you are constantly receiving this sense information from your twin flame, it is as if you are just actually experiencing flashes of it in the moment. And again, this is something we can tune into consciously, but quite normally it happens very unconsciously. And again, if or when you experience this with your twin flame, it will usually come in flashes. And in fact, these flashes of remote viewing your twin flame will seem so strange and fantastical to you. You may actually write them off as your own imagination. You may think you are just imagining with your conscious mind what your twin flame is doing at that moment in time. But what is actually happening is you subconsciously are interpreting this energy in the form of sense impressions coming from your twin flame as they do whatever they're doing. You are then interpreting those subconscious messages through your own senses, most often through your sense of sight, which is why we call it remote viewing. Now, less commonly known but still as real is remote every other sense. Remote touching, that we'll talk about in a minute, remote tasting, literally any sense you can imagine, remote hearing. Remote viewing is only the most common because the sense of sight is predominant for most of us. Most of us notice what we see the most. This is our dominant sense in many ways, which is why most of the time when we receive these energetic messages from our twin flame, these sense impressions, we are most likely to interpret them through our sight. But if you begin to practice this consciously, or even as you get closer to your twin flame and become more in tune with this connection, you may find yourself interpreting remote senses, interpreting these messages from your twin flame through many of your other senses as well. One way to sharpen these so-called remote senses, to be able to better pick up on and read energetic messages from your twin flame at any point in time, is through meditation. And in fact, this is really the only tool I can recommend for being able to sharpen this practice, because it is only during either meditation or sleep when our conscious mind is able to begin stepping out of the way. During sleep, it actually is completely dormant, and as we meditate, we are able to relax our own conscious mind intentionally. And in both cases, we leave our subconscious a little more wide open, allow our subconscious to take the driver's seat, so to speak, to open itself up to being influenced. I highly recommend also meditating with a subliminal designed for twin flames. I have created a 7-chakra twin flame healing subliminal. This will really assist you in not only sharpening your remote senses, your ability to telepathically sense your twin flame's current emotions, feelings, and experiences, but it will also have effects, positive impacts on every aspect of your relationship with your twin flame, because it works by working through your own inner blockages to love, to your own worthiness, confidence, because any of these internal blockages will always manifest in the form of blocks between us and our twin flame. This subliminal is actually available in a conscious spoken version as well as the subliminal version, and comes in 4 different background meditation sounds: music, rain, ocean waves, and white noise. And I know that many of you listening already know this, and in fact there are many of you listening who are already members and who have shared with me privately and publicly through the comments some of your absolutely amazing results you're seeing in your connection from this subliminal. So for those of you who haven't yet created an account, you can sign up for a free trial on my members only website, Sound and Soulful, where I have a library of over 100 subliminals for all areas of life. And the link to this twin flame subliminal will be in the pinned comment as well as the description box. So, like I said, we can experience remote sensing through viewing through our sense of sight or through any of the other senses. But there is another form of this remote sensing that is somewhat different. Everything I've spoken about up until this point has been about energetic information we are unconsciously receiving from our twin flame, that they are usually unconsciously radiating toward us just as a natural effect of them living their daily life, having these sensory experiences, but being so energetically bonded with us that we are naturally receiving those senses in the form of energy from them. However, remote touching can sometimes be different, or what we think of as remote touch with twin flames. There are 2 forms of remote touching. There is one form in which we, like in the previous examples, we are simply picking up on sensory information from our twin flame, and we are feeling it in our own body. However, there is another form of remote touching that is very different. Rather than our twin flame just living their daily life, having sensory experiences and us receiving it, this form of remote touching comes through their mind, through their conscious imagination. In other words, when our twin flame is thinking specifically about us in a very physical, intimate, sensory kind of way, or thinking about touching us in some way, we will pick up on this information in kind of the same way as everything I described before. Except instead of us experiencing touching things or people from our twin flame's perspective energetically, we actually will feel as if they are touching us. On my channel, I refer to these as phantom touches, feeling your twin flame touching you when they aren't in the room, or even if they're on the other side of the world. Distance doesn't mean anything for twin flames. In fact, when it comes to energy, physical distance truly is meaningless. It has no impact on the transfer of energy. The only exception to this with twin flames is that if they are literally within each other's physical presence, within specifically 6 feet of one another, because the human aura extends 6 feet. So if your aura is touching your twin flame's aura, this is somewhat a different form of connection with your twin flame, which is the reason why so many of the signs and symptoms that occur in the twin flame connection intensify when you are in the same room as your twin flame for the first time, even if you don't meet them or talk to them or speak to them. You often still experience an intensifying of all of the physical symptoms, the eye contact symptoms. Everything feels amplified. This is the only exception to what I just said about distance not affecting anything about the energy, really. So it doesn't matter whether your living next door to your twin flame or 1,000 miles away from them, you can sense very clearly when they begin to think about you, and specifically think thoughts that include sensory images. They are transmitting this to you, usually unconsciously, because as they're imagining you, usually it's within their own daydreams, their mind. 99% of the time, they aren't trying to send some kind of message to you through this consciously. They may not even know it's possible. They are just having this daydream about you, and you are sensing it. Phantom touching or remote touching in this way can come in many forms. I've heard all kinds of things reported when it comes to remote touching between twin flames. Some of the most common things I've heard are feelings of tingling, and just knowing it's an indication your twin flame is touching that certain area of your body, like a tingling in your fingertips if you feel as if they're holding your hand, a tingling on your mouth that makes you feel like they kissed you. Just that kind of tingling feeling you get when you're on a first date and you have a huge crush on the person and they brush your arm and it leaves your arm feeling like it's tingling. You get that after effect on parts of your body when your twin flame is remote touching you. Except there was no touch to trigger it, so it can be confusing. Others who are maybe even more in tune with these sensations may not just feel the after effects of the touch through this tingling, but may actually feel their twin flame stroking their arm, grabbing their hand, wrapping their arms around them, anything like that. In other cases, you may just feel your twin flame's physical presence right beside you, or in bed laying next to you. You may feel the weight of their body or the presence of someone in the room with you, and intuitively you know that it's them. Oftentimes we receive these remote touches in tandem with, in connection with, a little bit of remote viewing in the same way, where we can see flashes of their daydreams. And this can get very confusing because this may mistakenly lead us to believe that these are our own daydreams just playing out in our imagination so powerfully that they are manifesting in our physical body. But this isn't true. In many cases, these aren't internally our own daydreams. These are us energetically picking up on daydreams, energetic messages in the form of daydreams from our twin flame. Like I say with all of these subjects, there is always so much that I could say on literally any aspect of the twin flame connection. And I have to tell you, whoever you are listening, you are part of manifesting this information out of me. I don't want this community to just be me speaking, sharing my own thoughts and experiences. We are very much co-creators on this channel. So let me know in the comments below, either share your own experiences with remote touching or remote viewing or remote sensing in any other way. Or let me know what questions you have about the twin flame connection. What videos do you want to hear? Because through your questions, like I said, you are the one manifesting this information. It's just coming through me. So manifest more information about twin flames out of me. Let me know what you are most interested in hearing more about, and hopefully I will be able to get to all of your suggestions in time. If I resonated with you, please consider subscribing to this channel. Join our community of like-minded, conscious, creative beings here on YouTube. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again in the next podcast.